Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This week's video we are going to be having a little bit of another chatty video while I repot and pot up some plants that I have ready and a little bit rooty. So today I've got my purple passion and my golden pothos because they are both getting a little bit rooty and probably need a little bit more space. And as you probably know, we're getting to the end of growing season, so it's probably about the right time to get those potted up before the winter. I then also have my Adansonii cuttings, which did get a little bit thrip infested in the summer, but I'm thinking that these are all clear now. They have been treated 2 or 3 times and they seem to be doing well, so this needs potting up ready for over the winter. And then I also have some Begonia maculata cuttings that need potting up. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with those yet, whether I'm going to add them into my plant or whether I'm going to pot them up in some teeny tiny little pots and potentially sell those on. I'm not decided. But yeah, so let's get into the video and let's have a little bit of a chat. So I think I will start with my golden pothos, and I have just realised I've definitely not brought enough of the right sized pots, but oh well, I can go get some of those as we go. I have a bag of my potting compost. Now, unlike a lot of people, I can't afford to fully make my own compost at the minute. I know a lot of people swear by a mix of orchid bark and perlite and soil, but I just don't have the money. As you know, I've just finished at university and those things don't come cheap, whether you buy them ready mixed or separately. So I purely make my compost up of perlite, which I'm quite heavy-handed with, and then just regular compost at the minute, and hopefully, fingers crossed, in the future when I get a job I'll be able to upgrade my compost and hopefully see a difference in my plants. But yeah, so let's get straight in and start potting up this golden pothos. I forgot to bring something in from the potting bench to catch the soil in, because I'm silly like that. So let's have a look. So I did check this and it's got quite a rooty bum, but this doesn't hold very much water, so I think it is overdue a little bit of a pot. So these were 3 cuttings, I think, that I put together and made a full plant from, and all 3 do seem to be doing very well, but as I say, the pot doesn't hold too much water, so I'm finding that I'm having to water maybe 2 or 3 times a week at the minute, which, as you know, I don't like doing. I don't like watering too often. So that was a big sign. Now she has got really rooty through the bottom, so I'm trying to be careful not to destroy much, if any, of this root system, because it is looking very, very healthy right now. So just trying to wiggle that. Oh, I think we're getting there. But yeah, so it is currently the middle of August, which I think for most people, especially out in the garden, people find that this is like peak growing time. However, my garden this year is not playing by that rule and it has literally just started flowering. So hence why you've not seen much content out in the garden recently, is because there's just not that much going on week that I can show you. But I am planning on doing a little planning for autumn type video, so kind of going through what bulbs I'm going to buy, tulips, daffodils, things like that. I'm going to talk you through everything. So as you can see, here we go, that is really rooty, so definitely ready for potting up. And as I say, it's 3 separate cuttings, so that's 1, 2 and 3. 2 of these were from a plant that I bought my boyfriend's mum, and cheekily I took 2 cuttings off it before I gave it to her, and now she knows because she will be watching this YouTube video, so I was cheeky, sorry. And then the other one is one that I saved from a garden centre and had to chop it all the way back, so I'll show you that one now. That is this one. You can see see that. It was like basically just a wet stick. And I took off all the rotten bit and somehow managed to save it. That was my first proper garden centre save that didn't have some life left in it basically. So yeah, here we go. We've got 1, 2 and 3. And we're basically just going to pop these up into a bigger pot. So that was what it was in before. I'm going to go for something about that size, just give it a little bit more space, but we don't want to overdo it and shock its system. So I am going to get my compost and we're just going to stick a little bit of that in the bottom, just to line it, and then we'll just tap the compost in around the 3 cuttings basically. So I want to try and kind of align these because I do end up wanting to have this trailing. I know people say that they prefer to climb, but I just think they look way better trailing. So if we align these properly, hopefully they'll all kind of trail into the same direction eventually. Go with about that and see as we put the compost in if I'm happy with it. So going back to the garden, it just doesn't seem to be doing too much, and especially how windy it is at the minute, that is not helping matters at all. Just so you're aware as well, I have my plastic potting mat underneath where my feet are, underneath this little table, so none of the soil is going on the floor, don't worry. It is 100% clean, clear, nothing's getting thrown all over because I know I am quite messy, so I have to be careful with these things. Let's move that out of the way before I knock it over. So I am definitely focusing more on the houseplants at the minute because they are going through a humongous growing season this year. As I say, as I've said before, a lot of my plants have come from cuttings, or really tiny, like £2, £3 plants from the garden centre. So I've found that this year a lot of them have really taken off. Now this one was a fairly new plant. I think I only potted the whole thing up, I want to say maybe in like May. So it's clearly very happy for it to need repotting so soon, and normally I wouldn't have repotted something so soon after originally potting it, but as I say, those roots were really sticking out the bottom there, so it's definitely in need of a repot. So let's give that a tap, make sure everything is compact, and there we go, already looking better in her bigger pot. And we might, when she gets a little bit bigger still, maybe get another cutting in there. That is one fully repotted. So I'm going to put her down on the floor. So next up, I have a couple of plants that I just want to check their roots, if they've got any roots. So this here is my Decidia ovata, I think it's called, string of nickels anyway. And I think this is the variegated version, although I'm not 100% sure. Now, this was a cutting that I got, I want to say the start of the year. And I read a few places and it said your best bet is to put them straight into soil, like it's the easiest way to root them. But she's not grown at all, so I just want to take her out of the soil basically and evaluate whether she's grown at all or whether this one might be a little bit of a lost cause, which is what I am currently thinking at the minute. Oh no, we do have some teeny tiny little roots. I have been proven wrong. I think my best bet is just going to be to repot her in this tiny pot for now. Let's just get her back in this pot. So I've filled the bottom of this pot up. The soil that was in here before was a little bit damp, so I think maybe we've had an issue of slightly overwatering, but now that I know that there's roots in there, I'm well chuffed with that one. I thought that was a lost cause. I thought we were going to be throwing that one away today, so Yeah, well pleased. Let's just top this back off. I have buried her a little bit deeper just to see if that will help any. This one was not one that I expected to be keeping today. I am quite brutal, let's put it that way, about whether I keep plants or not. If they don't make me happy, if they're not rooting or not doing what I want them to do, I'm quite happy to either let them go to someone else or just let them go entirely and chuck them in the bin, because I have very limited space anyway, so there's no point in me keeping plants I don't like or that are taking up space I could be using for something else. I'm just going to have a little tidy up on here, so I'm going to brush all this soil, or as much of this soil as possible, off the table, just so that I'm not keep blowing it everywhere as I'm talking. Oh, that was great. Threw it on my feet. So this is my Syndapsus, and this is another one that got pretty badly ripped earlier this year, and it made me very sad because they did kill off my newest growth, and this seemed to be doing really well. This was one that I got towards the end of last year as a cut-in, and I took it to my boyfriend's actually, and it's very rare that I have plants through there, but it seemed to really thrive. Brought it back here, repotted it, put it in my greenhouse, and then it got thrips. Should have just left it at my boyfriend's, shouldn't I? But yeah, so I want to see. It does look a little bit rooty, but I just don't know what to do with this. See, the roots on this are amazing. Maybe we should pot down on this, because these are really, I don't know if you can see, one second. I think we're going to size the pot down on this one. I think maybe the thrips had something to do with the deterioration of this plant, but as you can see, we've got some really, really healthy roots on there. It's just a shame that she got thrips. Let's get a little pot which will fit her nicely in, and let's get going. Let's pot her up. So I've been to the garden centre this morning. Nothing much of anything interesting, unfortunately. However, I have been tasked with renovating a little part of my auntie's garden. We are slowly going to make our way through the whole thing, but at the minute, just because her garden borders are so big, we're going to start with a tiny bit and then slowly work our way kind of round the garden, because she has a lovely garden, but it's just not being used very much. So yeah, we've been to the garden centre this morning just to have a wander around, see if there's any plants that she particularly likes, because I have some ideas of kind of things that would look good. The idea is to go for a herbaceous border, so very perennial style border, because I think that's quite easy to maintain for her and for me. So that's the idea, but we got a lavender. That's the only thing that we bought, because they didn't have anything that I kind of intended on showing her, which was a bit annoying really. So I am thinking about maybe going to another garden centre next week, and I've got something in my eye, so I need to go and get that out. So I will be back in a second. Back I am. It was a big piece of black fluff that was in my eye, which is lovely. I expected it being soil, because I'm not the most careful, let's put it that way. So next I have my two little begonias, which are looking fab right now, although one has just lost a leaf. Now I don't know whether that's me being clumsy or whether the leaf just wasn't doing great, but it has just lost a leaf. So I think I am probably going to pop these up separately for now, because I've just checked my big begonia, and where I have put in a cutting before, it seems to be filling out quite nicely, so potentially when I put it on I might put one of these in there, but for now I'm going to pot these separately. So I'm just going to use some of these tiny pots, take these out of the water. So let's put some in this pot. Won't need much at the bottom of there. And then slip this in. Now begonias have unwillingly become probably one of my staple plants because I just find them so easy to look after. I have this one, which is my maculata, and then I also have the Carolina Lucerna, which needs to be chopped and propped, but currently it's flowering, so I'm a bit reluctant to touch it at the minute, but it definitely does need doing. It's very top heavy. The root ball is tiny in comparison to the actual plant itself. The plant is really tall, but I actually got that in a plant swap with a lovely lady, but she had put it in a pot without any drainage, which obviously begonias need quite a bit of drainage, hence why I'm only putting this in a tiny pot for now, just to acclimatise it, and then we'll see how it goes. I'm being really clumsy today. Yeah, to see how it goes, but so far I have the most success with begonia cuttings, and especially my maculata is very prolific in making me cuttings and making me take cuttings of it, because it just grows like crazy. Like even the one that I have currently in with my first begonia, my actual like mother plant, is like catching up, so I'm always very proud of my begonias. I'm just going to move this water because I'm going to end up throwing that somewhere today, knowing how clumsy I'm already being. We'll get this one potted up nicely too, and then I think I'm down to like 1 or 2 cuttings left. I have another begonia that I'm currently trying to root. I don't actually know what type of begonia that is, so as soon as it's like rooted enough to pot up, I'm going to see if any of you guys know what it is, because I'm really fascinated and it's gorgeous, like pink and green begonia, but not a clue, never seen it before. After today, we are bare bones on the cuttings, so I might have to be looking on Etsy for some more, but yeah, don't tell my mum that I'm looking for more plant cuttings, because I will definitely be in trouble. So there are my 2 brand new begonias. Now just gotta let those acclimatise, get them growing, and then I will see about either potting them in or potentially passing these on, because I don't need 3 separate begonias. Now next up is one of my most fun plants, which is my purple passion, and I'm just in love with this plant in general, but she is definitely in need of a massive repot, because look at that, we've even got roots literally hanging from the bottom. So let's get straight on with this. Oops, we had a couple of casualties there, but most is intact. Now this one was a very cheap buy, and it was one that I saw and was like, for that price I will definitely be taking that one home. And it almost died on me, just because it wasn't getting enough light basically, and I moved it in when I got my indoor greenhouse. I chucked it in there with the grow lights and it made this miraculous recovery, and then it's grown that much that I've actually had to take cuttings of this one. So I think one of those cuttings is probably going to end up going back in with the rest of this, and then we will see potentially about passing one on. I know my sister-in-law would really like one, so I think I'll probably pass one of the cuttings on to her as well. But it's just nice to be able to share plants. As you know, my boyfriend's mum has quite a lot of houseplants, so we share a lot between us, but there's also my sister-in-law who doesn't have that many houseplants. She has quite a fancy garden though, so we swap quite a lot of our like outdoor plants between each other. which I think is really nice. Like, I'd much rather do that than try and sell my plants to people, because it just makes me happier to be able to see them, to be fair. I'm a bit of a control freak, and yeah, being able to actually go and visit my plants makes me a lot happier. I think I might pass the other one on to my sister-in-law if she would like it, which I think she will. It's her kind of plant. She likes the unusual. She's got quite a few carnivorous plants, so she's got a Venus flytrap, she has a ping, the ones where the actual leaves catch the little flies and stuff. They have like sticky leaves, which I think is so cool, and it is a plant that I would really like to get. I think this would fit in well with all her weird and wacky house plants that she has. And as I say, it's just nice to share. So now we're on to the final one, which is my Adansonii. So let's get this one all potted up. And while I'm on the topic of cuttings, it's not really a cutting, but I do have an update on my alocasia corms, which a few weeks back when I did my alocasia video, I showed you, and they weren't doing very much, or they just started rooting, that's what had happened. But now we have actual little leaves, and we have 6 of them. So it was just all about having patience, wasn't it? But I'm not too sure when I need to pop these on, so if anyone's got any tips on when these need actually potting up, they're currently sat just in a little tray of water because they got too big for that little pot that they were in. But yeah, leave it down below if you have any tips on when to pot those up, because I've got a Scooby basically, and chuck some soil in the bottom of here. It's gone a bit clumpy, must be a bit damp. So spread that out, and then let's get these guys. Now I don't know whether I'm going to end up having this trailing or, what's the other word? Why has my mind gone blank? Trailing or climbing, that's the other word. That wasn't even a difficult word to think of. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with this as of yet, so I'm not really sure how to go about placing this, to be honest, but I'm just gonna go for it and just see. The Adansonii is one that I had before when I owned plants, so we're talking like COVID times, and then I think, well, it obviously must have died off, but I don't know how it died off. I'm guessing it's one that went to uni with me and then accidentally got left for those 8 weeks of local lockdowns when I couldn't go back. So I assume that that's how it died, but I can't be 100% sure. But yeah, and then when I started recollecting, it was one of those that I was like instantly wanted to get a hold of. I'm not sure how far through that you actually saw, because my SD card was full and then I kicked over one of the bottles of water, because that is classic me, isn't it? I did say that I'm going to move those because I'm going to knock it over, and then I kicked it over anyway, so typical. Anyway, I don't know what bit I was up to, but basically someone let me take a cut-in rather than me having to fully pay for one of the plants, which was absolutely lovely of him. So I went to pick that up, and then here we are, finally getting it potted up. Now it's been ready for potting up for 2 or 3 weeks now, but I've just been too lazy to get round to it, and I kind of wanted to do it in a video. So finally I thought today is the day, we'll pop this guy up. And yeah, I think I will probably end up having him climbing, because I think they look great when they're climbing, and it also tends to help them get these bigger leaves, which I'm not expecting the newest leaves to be this big, but hopefully one day we will get leaves this big, because I think they are just stunning. So I think that is everything. But yeah, so I am very grateful that you came back to watch this video today, and I hope you've enjoyed me just kind of chatting you through my plants and giving you a little bit more details on where I got them, how I got them, how I've got them to grow so quick, etc, etc. I've enjoyed just doing another chatty video, and I think it's really fun to just sit down and waffle because that is what I'm best at doing. So yeah, thank you very much for coming back, and hopefully I will see you again in the future. If you liked this video, you can always like and subscribe because it really helps me to spread my videos even further on the internet. And yeah, thank you very much, and I will see you again next week. Bye!